for joining us for our presentation, Recruiting and Supporting International Teachers. I'm Dr. Liza Speece. I'm the coordinator for World Languages and Immersion in Lexington School District 1. And with me, I have Kimberly Freeman.
Hi, guys.
She is our HR specialist who works with our international teachers. And we also have Alma Puente Ruiz.
Hi, everyone.
And Alma is our district social worker who also works very closely with international teachers. So today we're going to talk a little bit about our story, why we have so many international teachers, and all the things that we do to support them. So we have a very robust world languages program in our district. Our school board is very supportive of world languages. We offer immersion programs in 4 different languages. So those start at the kindergarten and go through 12th grade. And then we also offer 4 languages in all of secondary through all of middle school and high school. So as our program grew to be such a large world language program, we really found the need to start hiring more international teachers because there just weren't enough teachers here in the stateside to fill all of our positions. And so we, worked with various companies through bringing teachers here on a J1 visa status. But what we found was the time that it takes to work with a new teacher and to train them, and right about the time that they start to really be at their peak of their incredible teaching, then their term of the 5 years would be over and they would have to leave. And so we wanted to seek out some ways that we might be more creative and offer different types of visas so that we could have our international teachers here for the long term, because they began to feel like at home and like this was their family, and they didn't want to leave when their term was up either. And so Kimberly is going to tell you a little bit more about that process.
All right, so as you can see, at this point, we do have lots of teachers from around the world, and there are so many reasons why that's important for our students, for our community, for our staff members, and just really can't tell you enough how much we value our international teachers. We have teachers currently representing 22 countries. We have 77 international teachers at this point, which is an interesting number, in part because we did bring in fewer international teachers this year than we have the last few years with the current state of immigration in the United States. But what we have learned is that by expanding the pathways that teachers can follow to come and be a part of our work, we open a lot of doors to having teachers come and join us potentially for longer periods of time. So right now we have teachers with us on the J1 and the J2 visa. So those teachers are part of a visiting international exchange that's a part of the Fulbright Act, and teachers on that J1 visa or their J2 dependents, their spouses, are able to work and teach with us for up to 5 years in a cultural exchange. After that, we have teachers who are here on the H-1B visa, which is an employment visa based on a specialty occupation. And so we're able to employ teachers based on their certification status on that H-1B visa. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we talk about how we recruit specifically, but we are a CAP exempt employer, which means that we have a relationship with institutes of higher education in our state. And as a result of that work alongside of our IHE partners, we are able to stay in CAP exempt status, which allows us to sponsor a teacher on an H-1B visa through the CAP exempt process, which means we're not dependent on that more typical H-1B CAP lottery, sometimes it's called, process, but we're able to sponsor teachers without that. That also means that we are able to look at sponsorship around the year instead of being limited to the H-1B CAP season in the spring. We have teachers with us who are here in their OPT, their optional practical training year of their F1 student visa. And so teachers on that OPT visa have just finished a degree program here in the US and are eligible to work in their field for a year. in order to get some practice in their specific field of study. And so folks on the OPT are able to teach with us for a year. And then typically we are able to move those teachers to an H-1B for the following year. We have a few OPT teachers who actually have a 3-year optional practical training visa, particularly that's connected to those who are coming to us from the STEM fields. But typically that's a 1-year program, and then we move to the H-1B. We have a teacher who's here through the VVN process, which is sometimes called our green card lottery process here in the United States. And so we have, that's really not a process we sponsor specifically, but we are able to support that teacher in her transition to the United States in the same way that we do all of our teachers as they join us from abroad. And then we also have a handful of teachers who are here in there. They are going through a process, an immigration process, depending on their status in terms of asylum, typically political asylum. We have a few folks from some other experiences, but those are teachers that we support as well. And then we have a few folks who are in a permanent residency process. So there are lots of different ways that we have teachers who are a part of our work. But as you can see, it has really opened our doors to allow us to have teachers from all around the world. And in fact, we thought maybe one of the best things to do today was to let you hear directly from our teachers on how they found us, why they're a part of our work, and what that means to them and to us. So we're going to start by letting you hear from one of our teachers who is here from Spain, who is an incredible part of our work. So I'm going to share his story with you right now.
I came to Lexington 1 because I heard of the amazing results they were getting from their students. No wonder they have so many schools top rated based on so many topics, including some super relevant to me, such as academic performance and equity. We can't stress enough the importance of hard work and excellence in developing citizens ready to accomplish their goals in this ever-changing and global world. It really helped me when I arrived that there is an amazing team of super professional and experienced men and women ready to support you through your transition from a different cultural and professional system to those high standards Lexington 1 is famous about. I am an international teacher, and when I say they care for you, I really mean it. Some of the best experiences I've had here have been revolving around my school's community. There is such a great culture of collaboration and fellowship. You can't help but loving being here. Kids enjoy learning in an environment that fosters high quality work, critical thinking, and relationships. I wish I had known of them before. It's such a great experience to work in a place where everything is an opportunity to grow together. Now I feel I am part of this big family that is Lexington 1. I have developed already such a great sense of belonging. As I once told my late teacher, I am where I want to be when I want to be, and couldn't be more thankful.
So I think you can see why our international teachers are so precious to us. They bring such a deep perspective. And I want to toss it over to Miss Alma, who's going to talk to us a little bit about her experiences.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm a social worker, has been a social worker for 30 years now. And one of the nice things about being in this, having all these new teachers is like I have company. Being from Lexington is a really, when I came here, there was really not a lot of diversity. And when they started this program, and I have coworkers who were from all over the world, who were international teachers, it was really nice to relate to other people who they were from, for the countries that I felt very comfortable. I was able to speak the language. So it has been a very positive, it has been a really positive to see how all these people bring diversity. And I see how our families, especially the Hispanic families that I work with, how they can relate, how they can feel that they're part of it. There's some people who, when I have gone and see them, and there's some who work in in maintenance, or who work in different kind of places. I said, they tell me, oh, there is this group of international teachers. They put me there and they help me with everything, and they help me with my kids, and then I can relate to them. At the same time, I have some parents who are also professionals in their country, and they tell me how much they feel that they can relate to, to all these teachers, that they have a lot to bring. Personally, for me, it has been a wonderful to see that a district that I work has more people like me. With maybe all of us have different experience, as Kim say, and our way that we got here, we all come. I was very surprised to see all the visas and all of that. And it's funny how I understand every single visa, because I went through 3 of them or 4 of them. So I went to a student visa, to OPT, to working visa, and then permanent residence and a citizenship. So that's 5 steps that I went through it. And it was really, the emotions were so different, and now that I finally got to where I am, or I had been, is really nice. So I can relate to the teachers. I encourage them to say that there is a process, but I think we have a very supported group. We have Kim and Liza and the whole district, who I feel that bring in these differences, and our district is going to make it more valuable. And as the superintendent say, it's going to be for everybody. Everybody will be included. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so let's talk specifically a little bit about how we recruit our international teachers. So one of the main ways that we're able to recruit abroad is through our visiting international teacher programs. So we have several J1 partner agencies that we work with who help us in the recruitment and in the immigration of teachers who come in as a part of the J1 program. So our teachers who come through this program, their program is, I think I mentioned earlier, an extension of the Fulbright Act. And so alongside of that, there is a cultural exchange component where these teachers, after completing a 3 or sometimes a 5-year term, have agreed to go back to their country and take back the practices that they've learned or experienced here in the United States. It's sometimes referred to as a home residency requirement. So these are teachers who come on the J1 visa. Their dependents, so their spouses and children, hold a J2 visa, which for their spouses is important for us because there is a pathway to work authorization on that J2 visa. So if somebody is here as a J1 teacher or a spouse, we potentially could employ those folks while they're here. And so we do have quite a few teachers who are a part of the J1 program. In order to come and work on that J1 visa, there's an agreement between the Department of State and the country. And so for us, and then the certification agency, which in South Carolina is our State Department of Education. Anyone who has a degree in education in their country abroad is eligible to come and work in our J1 program. For us in language, one of the things that's a real benefit to that is a teacher who has a degree in education, regardless of the field of education where that degree might be true, is able to come and teach for us in our language program if that language is their first language. So for example, we might have a teacher from Colombia who has a degree in physical education who's actually able to teach Spanish for us because of that first language and the education degree. In South Carolina and in a lot of states of the United States, there's actually a separate certification pathway for our visiting international teachers. And that's really important because that allows them to come in a little bit more easily under our certification laws and teach as a part of our schools. All right. Another way that we're able to recruit teachers is through an employment pathway, which most commonly in education is through the H-1B visa. I talked a little bit about the H-1B cap exemption that allows us to file at any point for qualifying candidates. The piece for us of the H-1B visa is we have to find ways to work through the recruitment side of things. We're not abroad on a consistent basis to recruit. And so we partner with IHEs from around the United States and abroad. We have some partnerships with some of our embassies, particularly with our French embassy. We work through ACTFL and other organizations to meet folks, to build relationships. Our teachers who are already here are really great recruiters for us. And in all of that, we're able to recruit teachers and employ them on the H-1B visa. So typically this would be somebody who's maybe finished a J-1 program and gone back and done that 2-year home residency requirement. Sometimes there are teachers on a J-1 visa who are able to get a waiver of a home residency requirement that enables them to seek an H-1B. There's several different things, but importantly for the H-1B, 2 things have to be true. That person's going to have to be eligible for immigration and eligible for certification in the specific field where we need that teacher to teach. So there's a difference in the certification requirement under the H-1B than the J-1 visa. That's going to be a bit of a state to state kind of thing in the United States. But most states where we've worked with do have a different certification pathway on that J-1 program. So what that means is that that same teacher who's been here teaching Spanish for us for 5 years on the J-1 visa with the PE degree is no longer going to be eligible to teach Spanish of its own volition, right? So what that means for us is we've got to get that person eligible to be certified in PE, and then we can probably add on the Spanish certification. That's going to be a very different process from state to state. But in South Carolina, we're going to have to seek that certification in that primary field first. And the whole reason for that is that the H-1B visa is entirely dependent on us being able to show that that individual is properly qualified for the job we're trying to bring them here to do. So we've got to be able to show that that person holds the same credentials that any other US teacher would hold. And so that's why we have to make sure we go through the certification process. That is typically the biggest roadblock for us when we have teachers who have been in the United States somewhere on the J-1 visa and they are trying to move to an H-1B. It's not just an immigration process, but I guess what maybe more accurately, part of the immigration process is the credentialing. And so it's really, really important to make sure we have that certificate in play, right? The optional practical training visa that's a part of the F1, that one is typically pretty easy in terms of the immigration process. Now, we did have a little scare with that earlier this year in some decisions at the federal level around the OPT or the F1 student visa. Ultimately, that worked out and we were able to bring some folks here. But in terms of process, that is a part of the visa that that individual already holds. So there's some accountability in making sure that that person is learning the proper kind of training, but it's a little bit easier in terms of an immigration process. The J-1 visa, we're able to we identify who we want to bring kind of from a slate that J-1 company has already recruited. They handle the immigration and are able to get the person here. That's typically a pretty quick turnaround. We can have folks here usually in about a month. Now, there have been some changes to that visa lately where the goal is to have people in play by the beginning of a school year. So we're not able to recruit all year with the J-1 visa, but we can identify, recruit, and begin the process of selecting someone in maybe mid-July and oftentimes have that person here by the start of the school year in mid-August. The H-1B visa takes a little bit longer. The first piece of that requires that we file something with the Department of Labor called a labor conditions application. It has to be filed for 10 days and then we can file the visa. So
You file the LCA, then you file the actual petition for the H-1B. That's probably, it varies from moment to moment. Right now, I think the last I heard about a 6 to 9 month processing window on an H-1B, but you can expedite that process by paying an additional fee for premium processing. We will usually do that the first time to try to get the visa for that person. And then with renewal, we don't have to use premium processing because we're able to file earlier and give plenty of time for the process to happen, right? All right, so what do we do when our teachers get here? This is the really, really critical piece for us, where we've really worked to refine our practice over the past probably 10 years to make sure that the way that we're supporting our international teachers on arrival is very targeted and specific, okay? And so Alma, tell us a little bit about, because I know you've been a part of this work of supporting our international teachers probably the longest of the three of us. How has our process kind of evolved in terms of supporting these teachers on arrival?
Well, I think one of the things that it is really important, even though they come with a lot of experience with teaching, they come to different place, and the United States is very diverse, and South Carolina, as I said, it was pretty new, having international teachers. So one of the things that I felt that I needed to talk to them, many of them that I started working with came with a country that it was having a lot of issues, and many of them couldn't get their money out, to start getting the basics, like to have a phone, or to have, to have the very, very basics. Even though they have probably saved the money to come to you, and, to hear, they were not able to get it. And so we were able to figure it out how to help them also. Many of them didn't know how to communicate, even though language, sometimes it was not a problem, sometimes it was, but it was not. They were trying to find, they probably didn't know that when you go get a housing, you have to pay like the amount of the, like the, what do you call that, the reserve, the deposit, I'm sorry. You have to get the deposit, you have to get water, you have to get all of the stuff. Also, they were trying to figure it out, which part, because many of them didn't have the card yet. So they needed to, and they have families, so they wanted to be in a more urban area, as that's what they were used to. So a lot of stuff came. Many of them have health problems. So not like serious, but just like regular, they probably were used to seeing a doctor. So there were a lot of things that I have to, that I was able to work with them to kind of give them an idea of how the situation works, how life works here. And, I was very lucky when I got here. The University of South Carolina have like a little cheat sheet that they will give us. Of course, I was single and I didn't have that, but that kind of helped me tell them the things that they were very important to me. That they will tell me, a certain time you don't call these people, a certain time, so I was able to also give them that. And I also talked to them about the different food. I put them in there, like if they were Hispanic, I told them about the flea market, where to get the vegetables. And so I mean, the staff that we were able to talk to was a lot, and they all receive it with very well. We also, through a group, we were able to get them furniture. Many of them, who's going to have money to have, to put furniture in a house and all of that. So I was able to get Mission Lexington. Was able to provide me with some beds and some other stuff that the people need, like the basics. Now I feel that UCAM has organized it much better. So I think that when you took over, things are they're more organized. And I don't think we have the same needs, or they're different, or we have more help than at the beginning. But at the beginning, it was a lot of navigating what we were, the resources with churches, with people, and all of that. And so that's a little bit of what we try to help them. There's some of them who just needed some support. Some some support with their families. I help them get the kids enrolled in school. So all kinds of things. Some things were big, some things were little, but I think that support was very appreciated. And I was able to work with you and Dawn, and so it was a really good, it was a really working environment.
And I think, our practices continue to evolve. But one of the things that I've definitely learned since being in this role is just the importance of the kind of coalition approach. So it's going to take a village for us to be able to do everything that our teachers need to do to make that transition successfully. And ultimately, when we do that, our teachers win because their transition is a smoother transition. They're able to get adjusted, and our students win because they're ready to teach. And so we really invested in what's a kind of structured approach to that. Things that we don't necessarily think of in terms of like, how do you go about getting a social security card or a driver's license or a car or banking or the cell phone and all the things. Teachers coming on the J1 visa have a company that helps facilitate some of that. When we do that recruiting ourselves, we have to own that process because that piece is not in place. So we have to really work. So we've tried to kind of think about a really structured approach to what that looks like. And that's a real partnership between our social workers, our human resources team, our instructional services team, and our community. And so Dr. Speece is going to talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Yes, so within the first 30 days, we try to have a point person, usually someone from their school or Alma, that coordinates transportation for the first 3 weeks, including taking them to the DMV to get their social security card and all of those type things. And then, as Alma already mentioned, we help with housing and immediate food needs. And we also started providing through our food pantry a welcome basket that just has real basics, some food, some toiletry items, toilet paper, a blanket, and just some of those little niceties that teachers, when they show up here, they don't have and might not have extra cash to purchase. Within those first 3 months, the school community, typically we find someone at the school that the teacher will be working at to really work with that community to provide furniture. Typically they need a mattress and a bed. And so that's where a lot of times this teachers at their school will just donate things that they are no longer using to help furnish the house or apartment. In order to provide consistent nutrition, we found one of our teachers wasn't eating because she was sending money home and what she needed to do to support her family. We now provide breakfast and lunch at school for the first 3 months that they're here. And then, of course, Kimberly also mentioned help with their certification. And then some ongoing support is through local community partners such as churches, doing things like adopt a teacher, having a dinner, cards, meals, events, and that sort of thing. And then we try within the district too, just to honor the stories of our teachers through our internal blog that we published. We try to highlight at times the things that our international teachers are doing, and through our district newsletter as well. I know we've highlighted international teachers before and their contribution.
Absolutely. And so you've heard us say several times, and I think it's important just to highlight again, the importance of those coalitions, those community partners. We have an education foundation that's a part of our district. And so we partner with them to provide some really targeted support. We're able to put grocery gift cards in the hands of our international teachers once they've arrived here. So we're able to meet those very immediate food needs through the welcome basket. And then we're able to sustain some longer term needs through some grocery gift cards and by us covering the lunch tab for our teachers. So we're able to put money on that tab that allows them to eat lunch kind of for an extended period of time, or breakfast and lunch for a more brief period of time. But we know that there are some basic needs that are being met. We have some emergency assistance funds that we are able to support in times of crisis, particularly health crises. We've had people who have needed to go home for surgery or to see someone or for a lot of different things. And so being able to provide some support in those times has been really important. We also are able to provide a startup grant. And these aren't huge amounts of money. And I think that's something important to consider too. The grocery gift cards, we can do $150 in grocery gift cards, and that's going to cover the groceries, particularly for a single teacher, for really quite some time. And especially when we're also providing that breakfast and lunch, which works out to be about $3 a day. And then our startup grants are $175 that we either pay to help with the deposit or to cover the electricity or water bill that first month or two when we're trying to get folks on their feet. Certification can be an expensive process, so we also help to pay for some of the exams that are associated with the certification process so that we can help work through that as well.
So we also provide instructional support. As we've mentioned, many of our teachers come to us already as experienced teachers, but we find that sometimes the education system is very different, or the student parent expectations are different from what the teacher is used to in their home country. So we found that our international teachers often benefit from a coaching cycle with our teacher support specialist. And so we try to just kind of automatically touch base with our international teachers, and really any new teacher, but especially knowing that our international teachers have some cultural differences that they're trying to navigate. At times they need help or support when contacting parents, because especially on an email, the tone that a teacher might take that's a native English speaker can be slightly different from what someone who's learned English as a second language might take. And so we found that helping with home communications can kind of bypass potential problems. And then really we've worked on training our department chair at each school so that person can really be a point of contact and a support for the international teacher who's right there with them every day. And that person kind of takes our international teacher under their wing and really helps to troubleshoot as any particular issues arise.
When our international teachers arrive, there are some specific things that we have got to do to help them. The first one, and I learned this from my friend Alma, who has taught me this, and I've gotten more confident and better at it over time. I was guilty of asking teachers, "Are you okay?" And what are they going to say every time when I ask that? They're going to say, "Yes, I'm okay." And they're not telling me the truth because I'm not asking the right question. So I've learned to get real personal. Where are you staying? Do you have a bed? Does it have a mattress? What did you eat for supper last night? What do you need? And be very, very specific with the questions. What can I do to make this easier for you? And if I'm specific and persistent, then I'll get answers to those questions. And that really helps us learn to navigate things. I do what I can to get inside and meet people where they are and where they're living so that I can lay eyes on the situation. My husband, bless his heart, has become a professional bed deliverer because we deliver beds every fall so that we can really get to know our teachers and build that relationship with them. Driving is a real thing when you come to the United States. A lot of our teachers come from places where they have been able to rely on public transportation. And in our community, that is not an option. And so we've got to support people learning how to drive sometimes, learning how to drive in US and South Carolina laws, and how to navigate the driver's license. That international driver's license is very temporary, so we have to support that. We've got to support through a lot of change. But probably the most important thing that I think I've personally learned and hopefully worked to empower our school building administrators to learn is this. We have to know who our teachers are. We have to know where they're coming to us from, and we need to know what's going on where they've left behind. And so we learned this particularly over the past few years because we have a large number of teachers who have come to us from Venezuela. And one of the things that we have learned is that we need to be paying attention to what's happening in Venezuela, not just what's happening in the US and not just what the US is reporting about what's happening in Venezuela. But we need to have eyes and ears on the ground to pay attention to that. Because when I see a picture like this, I need to know that I need to check in on my Venezuelan teachers. We had a teacher who was in the midst of a really hard situation a few years ago where her home, where her father, who had some serious medical conditions, and her preschool age son were living. They were cut off from power, they were cut off from water, they were cut off from communication. Right. And she was teaching every day, and we didn't know what was going on because we weren't paying attention. And when we began to really pay attention to what was happening and stepped in to support her, we were able to help her facilitate immigration. We were able to help her facilitate getting some resources to her family. We were able to just love her and hear her and honor her in that moment. And I really can't tell you how enough how important that is. So one thing that I have committed to is that I watch what's happening in the countries where our teachers are living, and I loop our administrators in on a regular basis when I see something they need to know. So it's a challenging time to be an international teacher in the United States. As you know, we weren't able to bring many teachers in this year through the J1 program. We still have some teachers approved on H-1B visas that we can't get here who are currently abroad as we record right now. So it's very difficult to navigate immigration and what that means in the United States. It's difficult to be here as an international teacher right now. And it's difficult to be away from people you love in moments of crisis. And we're certainly living in that right now. So I think that's a really critical piece of this, is to make sure that we're supporting our teachers in some really specific ways. Right. As we get ready to wrap up, we wanted you to hear from a few more of our folks.
It really helped me when I arrived that an entire team at the district level was dedicated to helping international teachers. I was able to meet other international teachers who were going through the same experience. The journey of international teachers is a roller coaster of emotions. And I've celebrated great achievements, but I've also had moments of doubt and struggle. And it helped me a lot that there was always someone who could answer my questions, guide me, and reassure me.
When I arrived in Lexington 1, it really helped me, all the support I received from the people at the central services, starting with Miss Freeman. And then when I started my work at Gilbert High School, it really helped me, all the support I received from here, from the administration, from my coworkers, from my department head, and everybody was very supportive, and they made me feel like I'm one of their own, and they continue to make me feel like that, even after 3 years.
At my first year, at the beginning, I had some natural worries because as a new hired international teacher, I thought I would have some difficulties adjusting myself to a new work environment. But fortunately, I found very efficient onboarding, mentoring, and professional development opportunities that not only helped me to adjust my teaching strategies, but also to build new skills. And today, I can say with confidence that I have grown in so many ways, and I'm a better teacher because of the help that I've received from men and women who not only care about you, but also would do whatever it takes to help you.
Our school community, immediately the first day that we arrived, they were ready to work with us, ready to learn from us, ready to help us out, even with things that we didn't know we needed, maybe like warm clothes for these cold winters, materials that I might need for work immediately. So that outpouring of support from the district, from our social workers, and from our school community was the best blessing that we had when we came.
I wish I had known how challenging the first year would be. I was an experienced teacher in my home country, but I had to relearn many things. And that takes time and patience and a lot of work. but I received high quality training and I was offered wonderful PD opportunities. Lexington One really invested in me and helped me become a better teacher.
I wish I had known how important it is to trust yourself as a new teacher in a new country, in a different educational system. You are important, you are valuable.
I wish I had known in the beginning how difficult the first year was going to be. During that first year, I used to say, they do things like this here. And after, during the second year, I caught myself once saying, we do things like this here. That was the moment when I realized that this is the place for me, that I belong to this family. I am very, very proud to be a Roadrunner and to be part of the Lexington One family. We are definitely stronger together here. Thank you so very much.
I think, as we watch and hear from the hearts of our teachers, just can't help but stop and think about how really, really blessed our children are, our students are, that we have these teachers from around the world who are a part of their work. We can't do it alone, but together we can do what we need to do to recruit and support our international teachers, and our communities are better for it. And so I just would encourage you to embrace the opportunities you have and to let us know if we can help. Thanks so much for listening and being a part of this today. It means a lot to us that you gave this time, and we are so thankful.
Thank you.
Thank you.